light the fire.
25 extraordinary artists.
This is a house, I'm making a house, but we're dealing with people who don't have houses, and what does that mean?
It reminds me of Alice in Wonderland, like little fantasy.
I love how inside each panel is a different image.
25 house sponsors.
What the artists did with these houses is they either took the issue on or they created a beautiful piece of public art.
The final result? 25 art houses of Marin, 1 or 2 placed strategically in every city in Marin County for a few months for everyone to enjoy. It's a first for Ritter Center, a public arts campaign with one key goal in mind: to help end homelessness in Marin.
If one child or one family becomes inspired about what they can do to end homelessness, that's magical.
It's a strange shape.
And if you're wondering about the challenges, just listen.
It'll be up there with one of the more challenging objects. I don't think it should be just something that's aesthetically pleasing. I think the meaning behind the imagery should have some context to what the program's about.
Today is day 1. I've just started to paint, I've just started to sketch, and so I'm sure it's going to go through lots of changes in the next few weeks. My work is oil on canvas, very traditional, very detailed, and part of what I try to do in the landscape work is capture the quality of light and try to freeze a moment in time. Having the house show my sense of home and my sense of belonging to this community is important to me. What I've decided to do on this piece is to work from 4 directions in Marin: north, south, east, and west, the different views of the mountain, and also the 4 seasons. I can see now that one of the other challenges is going to be figuring out how to put this up so I don't have to work on my knees the entire time.
Through a conversation with Michael Osborne, the designer of these homes, I think he was the one that really helped us explore the possibility of art houses creating a nexus between housing, art, and homelessness.
This surface is plaster.
He created these 2 models to allow the artist a variation on the theme.
What's great about this is that I can erase by sanding through.
So they could kind of apply their own inspiration to it.
The way I work and the way I do is I work on these paintings, or this house, usually there are paintings, and I start it and then I correct it. This was all white and I just started putting these stripes on, and you know, the idea with this is that these are like a pathway. What I'm not liking is it looks sort of like a zebra.
Nick tells us it's the tone that's the real challenge for him.
We have an idea which has a tone, and I want to complement that idea, this idea of, you know, what does it feel like to be homeless? I can just do my own thing on this house, and it can be just a beautiful object and unrelated to what we're all involved in, which is this idea of homelessness. That's added a layer for me of complexity because I feel like I need to address it. I ended up going on the internet, and there's homeless people there's blogs, which is extraordinary. I wrote down ideas that they all seem to talk about not being seen, you know, just how it's a sequence of events that create their situation. This is almost a metaphor for a life, so I want to have a little bit of that. You know that game, Snakes and Ladders, where, you know, you're going through your life and then you either get on a ladder or you go down the slide. I wanted to do this project, do this house, showing that sequence, showing a pathway, and sadly you can go down it or you can kind of come up the other way. But I want it to feel like from the ground, sort of the darkness to the lightness. You know, it's almost like a celebration. It's a buoyancy and a hopefulness, but also a real precariousness that we all face. Did you get that? I love that.
A few weeks later, we reach what the artists like to call the defining stage. And just what is home? What's behind those 4 walls?
I think that my house celebrates what I love about being in Marin. And again, my sense of home, being at home in Marin, has to do with being outdoors, taking advantage of the parklands and the open space every day. I know that part of why I can appreciate the outdoors is because my basic needs are taken care of, and that it would be a lot harder to do that if I was hungry. Where I am on this right now is somewhere in the middle stage, just beginning to lay down the layers of texture and color, and so I'm building the surface. Probably none of what you see right now will show on the final piece.
This stage really is just more for me to get a better understanding of what I'm doing. First stage is just clunk, and then this stage is starting to work those nuances, and then the last is really putting things that belong in front, and things that belong in back. They can sort of stay the way they were at this stage, or they can be refined. These are just really big, broad ideas that I'm putting on right now. They're all subject to change. It's just, more of a natural process.
Eric's take on home, he talks of the fragility of it all and the comfort a home brings.
This is a great country, and it's a great place to live, and the land of opportunity and all that. But man, you slip from grace once or twice, it's so hard to get back up on your feet. And I don't imagine too many distressed families or people are there by choice. So it's it's heartbreaking. It's not about the literal scene of just a woman swimming. I think there's some sort of universal mother symbolism that I enjoy, and I think works with what I'm trying to say. And I like painting women.
I'm putting in the subjects, I'm putting in the objects, I'm laying in the basic composition on the house. You can see the words I've carved in these sentences and these lines. I can see that it's going to start to work. If something doesn't start looking good or feel like the right tone, I'll edit it.
On the topic of home, Nick says it's never simple.
What I've really tried to do is do a visual statement that is very layered, very complicated. This issue, this homelessness, and it is not simple. I have sentences, and then I've painted them over, and then I put other things on top of them, and it's almost like the way I'm speaking right now. It's not really clear, but after I go a bunch of different ways and I try different words and I scratch them off and go back and forth, you get the sense of it, you get the feeling of it.
And the hope for where these art houses will finally end up, finally find their adoring owner.
I started thinking about them being in atriums of large buildings, that they could be indoor, outdoor. I started thinking big, thinking museums, that several of these could be shown, at least temporarily. The artists are given an opportunity to work in a way that they wouldn't ordinarily choose to work, and it builds community.
Nick's hope with this art house?
I want people to think about, well, what are these phrases? What are these? And I think if you start reading it all, it becomes apparent that these are the words and the descriptors of people's lives, sleeping in abandoned buildings and houses. And these are like little pieces out of sentences. I think if people can touch base with what it possibly could feel like, if they could put themselves in that situation, that would be really great.
One thing we want people to understand is people living homeless is not a condition that we should accept. We can do something about that.
And then in the final, session, if you will, that's when all the details come in. There'll be lots of bubbles and lots of really delicate light streaks going across the water and across the flesh.
Eric wants to see more of these kind of art campaigns, and he's sure there are more artists out there ready to help like he is.
I think public art is under-tapped and is a great and a quite powerful visual resource.
In the end, if we're able to raise people's awareness about the issues of homelessness, the working poor and low-income families, to the point where they feel empowered to really get involved. That would be huge.
Engage them just purely from their aesthetic interest, which then makes them inquire more about Ritter Center, then I think we've achieved our goal.
The fire, you place the flowers in the vase that you bought today, staring at